we have a problem. We always have a problem of one type or another. And though, how often do we actually solve the right problem? And what are the benefits for not solving the right problem? Don't we typically get to solve the same problem over and over again? Or our actions actually make the existing problem worse? I think you should be able to relate to what I'm about to unfold. I'm sitting at the table in the morning having a very pleasant breakfast, and my wife yells down from upstairs, "Are you going to clean up that unsightly growth around the bird feeder this morning? I'm really getting tired of looking at it." And just as she does this whole pattern of relationships unfolds before my eyes in terms of how I think I got into this predicament. You see, I deal with a lot of frustration on an ongoing basis, and it detracts from having a pleasant breakfast. But when I do have a pleasant breakfast, it helps me deal with that frustration. So after watching the birds outside on a railing several mornings in a row and realizing that it actually calms me as I'm having breakfast, and it helps me deal with my frustrations on an ongoing basis. And I like this, so I decide to install a bird feeder. The idea being that if I install the bird feeder, it will attract birds, and therefore there'll be more birds outside in the morning, and it will help provide a more pleasant breakfast on an ongoing basis. Additionally, the bird at the feeder will improve the attractiveness of the garden, which should attract more birds, which should also add to my pleasant breakfast, and things are just moving in a marvelous direction. The problem is that I didn't think about the need to buy bird seed for the bird feeder, which, if you've looked at the price of bird seed these days, you know that it's not cheap. So the ongoing bill for bird seed ends up adding to my frustration. And the birds at the feeder create spillage, which increases the need to buy bird seed, adding to my frustration. And the spillage promotes unsightly growth, which I have to figure out what to do with, which increases my frustration. And the spillage attracts rodents, which I have to figure out what to do with, and it's simply more frustration. And then the bird feeder also attracts squirrels, the universal eating machine, which decreases the birds at the feeder, which increases the spillage, which increases the need to buy bird seed, and you probably get a sense of the direction that this is going in. Additionally, the birds are now pooping all over the railing, and I have to clean that up because I'm sure that my wife will be on me about that before too long. So this whole sequence of relationships flashes before my mind, and I sort of ask myself, I stop and I say, I got to fix this problem, the unsightly growth that my wife is complaining about. Though, is that really the problem? Is it the unsightly growth that's the problem? Or is it the spillage? Is the bird feeder poorly designed so that it's creating spillage, and I should figure out how to redesign the bird feeder so that the squirrels don't show up and create spillage and the birds don't create spillage, and then if there wasn't spillage, then I wouldn't have to buy so much bird seed. So that would help things out. Though maybe if I had thought all this through beforehand, maybe I wouldn't have installed the bird feeder to begin with, and then none of this stuff would have happened. I just had to deal with my frustration on an ongoing basis. Though maybe the problem is just my unwillingness or inability to deal with what's actually creating my frustration on an ongoing basis. So there are a whole host of things here that might be looked at as the problem, though, as it turns out, what this actually is it's really a shifting the burden archetype, where there's a problem symptom and there's a symptomatic solution, a quick, dirty, short-term fix that deals with the symptom. There's also a longer-term fundamental solution which will make the problem go away. The annoying aspect of this is that if you implement the symptomatic solution, the side effect is it diminishes the perceived need of implementing the fundamental solution. So you implement the quick and dirty symptomatic solution, which simply ensures that you'll have to fix the same problem over and over again. So that if I simply go out and clean up the unsightly growth, it sort of ensures that I will have to clean up the unsightly growth over and over and over again for eternity until they get rid of the bird feeder. So while this is a rather complicated looking structure, it's difficult to see initially that this is really a shifting the burden archetype. Though, as happens to be the case, once you learn about archetypes, and I'll do another video on those, well, I'll do a whole bunch of videos on archetypes in the near-term future, you find that in a complicated structure, there's usually one or a few archetypes that are operating that are really causing the situation that's being experienced. It's just difficult initially to see it or realize it because of all of the other relationships. So it's best, actually, I think, to think about the implications of our actions before we take them, so that we have a sense of what we're getting into, as opposed to just continuing to be the poster children for Pogo's "we have met the enemy and he is us." And in terms of we take a limited view of the implications of our actions, and we then end up becoming the victims of our own actions because of what we didn't think about. So hope you found this of some interest, and I'll be back with another video soon. Bye.